starts cruel words like feathers fly. Try and try to gather them again, but they fly away in the wind. Once long ago in Eastern Europe, they say, there was a woman whose tongue was sharp and unkind. She was accused of starting a rumor. She was brought before the village rabbi protesting. Oh, what I said was in jest, just humor. My words, well, they were carried forth by others, so I am not to blame. But the victim cried for justice, saying, but what she said about me wasn't true, and now everyone else is saying it too. Oh, she has ruined my good name. Oh, said the woman accused, I can make amends. I'll just take back my words and assume I'm excused. When the old rabbi listened to what the woman said, and he sighed as he shook his head. Oh, I don't think she understands her crime, he thought. She'll do it again and again in time, he thought. And being a wise old man who knew that the best teacher is experience, said to the woman accused, no, your unkind words cannot be excused until you take my feather pillow to the market square, cut it open and let the feathers fly through the air. When this is done, bring me back the feathers, every single one. Well, the woman reluctantly agreed, thinking that the rabbi had gone a bit mad indeed, but she took his feather pillow to the market square. She cut it open and feathers flew through the air. She tried to catch, she tried to snatch, she tried to collect each one. But weary with effort, she quickly discovered the task could not be done. She returned with just a few of the feathers in her hand. She said, I couldn't collect them all. They've scattered all over the land. I suppose, she sighed, as she lowered her head, they're like those words I can't take back from the rumor I spread. Cruel words like feathers fly. Far and wide, try and try to gather them again, but they fly away in the wind. Words like feathers fly in the wind, in the wind, reaching far and wide. In the wind, in the wind, words can heal, words can bind. May all your words, my friends, be kind. Here is an old Ethiopian folk tale. Fire, water, truth, lie. Fire, water, truth, lie. All lived together in a great big house, but they kept their distance from each other. Truth and lie always sat on the opposite side of a room, and fire was always leaping out of water's way. However, one day they decided to go hunting together. Soon they came upon a herd of wild cattle. They gathered those creatures together and drove them back to their village. As they went along, Truth announced, "Each of us should have an equal share. That would be fair." Water and Fire agreed, but Lie did not. However, Lie kept its thoughts to itself, and instead Lie went to Water and said, "If you destroy Fire, there will be more cattle for each of us." Water was inspired by these words and washed over Fire. Smoke and steam was all that was left. And Water went along with Truth and Lie, thinking about how many more cattle it would have now that Fire was gone. Meanwhile, Lie went to Truth and said, "Did you see that? Did you see what Water has just done? Water has destroyed our warm-hearted friend, Fire. We should drive these cattle high up into the mountains where Water cannot follow." What Lie had said was true, and so Truth agreed. Their dear friend Fire had been destroyed. And so up the mountain they all went. But Water couldn't keep up with Truth and Lie, for the steeper the mountain path became, the harder it was for Water to flow upwards, and it's been that way ever since. Water kept tumbling back down upon itself. Truth and Lie drove the cattle all the way to the top of the mountain, and they let the cattle free to graze. As they watched the herd, Lie turned to Truth and said, "I am stronger than you. I am your master." Truth said, "No, you are not my master. I will not bow down to falsehood. I am Truth." "Ha! No," said Lie, "I am far more powerful than you." They argued and they argued at the top of that mountain until a great wind came along, and they pleaded with the wind, "Wind, wind, please travel the world and ask others their opinion. Which of us is stronger and more powerful, Truth or Lie?" And so the wind blew all over the world and inquired, and finally returned to the top of the mountain and said, "I have asked many. Some said a single word of falsehood can destroy truth. And others said, well, like a small candle in the dark, truth can change every situation." Wind finally said, "I have seen that falsehood can be powerful, but it can only rule when truth stops struggling to be heard." And my friends, it has been that way ever since. One day long ago, the physician who served the king of Moab came to King Solomon's court. He said, "Oh, King Solomon, the king of Moab is sick. We have tried every cure we know, and our great sages have told us the only thing that can save our king's life is the milk of a lioness. No one in our country is brave enough to obtain such a medicinal wonder. Can you help?" Solomon called for Benaiah, his greatest soldier, and said, "Benaiah, I command you to bring me the milk of a lioness. Use whatever wisdom you can muster, whatever strength in your power, and bring the cure for our neighboring king." Benaiah bowed low. "I will never refuse you anything, Your Majesty. I will dedicate my life to bringing you this wonder." And Benaiah went and collected 10 small goats. He went to Mount Hermon, where he knew the lions lived, and he hid near a lioness's cave until she was nursing her young. Benaiah came forward with 1 goat and put it close enough for her to hunt it, but far enough so that he would be safe. The next day, while she was nursing her cubs, he brought another small goat and put it even closer and backed away. He did this day after day after day until finally he was able to bring food to the lioness and sit beside her. Well, while she nursed her young, he stroked her fur, and Benaiah took a little of her milk in a small pouch and backed away. When he was at a safe distance, he began to run. He came all the way to King Solomon's court and said, "Here you have the miracle cure to give to the king of Moab." And the physician, who was waiting breathlessly for such a wonder, was delighted to receive it. He took the pouch in his hands and he ran. He ran as fast as he could across the sands, across the lands, until he was so exhausted he couldn't take another step, and he sat down under a tree in a wilderness that he came upon, and he fell asleep. Now, while the physician, carrying this miraculous pouch of the milk of a lioness, slept, he had a dream. In his dream, the parts of his body began to talk to each other. The eyes said, "Oh, I am the most powerful part of the body, for I saw where the lioness's cave was." Legs disagreed. "No, I am far more powerful than you. I brought Benaiah to the cave." "No," said the mind, "I am more powerful than either one of you. I helped Benaiah conceive of a clever plan." And then the tongue said, "I am more powerful than any of you." The parts of the body heard the tongue say that and exclaimed, "You are a boneless, wagging piece of flesh. You are not powerful at all." "Ah, I have the power of life and death in me, and unless you admit that I am more powerful than any of you, there will be a bad end." All the other parts of the body continued to ridicule the tongue. And finally the tongue said, "We shall see what we shall see." That's when the physician of the king of Moab awoke. Oh, he realized that he had wasted precious moments, and he began to run again until he at last came to the palace of the king of Moab, and he said to the guards, "Bring me at once to the king. I have the magical cure." And they brought him to the bedside of the king of Moab, who lay pale and almost lifeless. And the physician said, "Oh, Your Majesty, I am so grateful that I can help you live. Here I have it. I have brought you the milk of a dog." The guards around the king's bed were outraged. The king himself was furious. "The milk of a dog! Take this man away and hang him." And the guards grabbed the physician of the king of Moab, and they threw him in the dungeon. He was to be hanged in the morning. As the physician sat there in the dark and the cold, he moaned about his fate. Oh, what will I do? He fell asleep, and while he slept, the parts of his body continued their conversation. The eyes said, "Tongue, why did you say that? Why did you say we brought the milk of a dog?" The legs said, "We're doomed. We'll all be dead because of what you said." "Well," said the tongue, admit it. Admit it. I am more powerful than any of you." "We admit it," said the hands. "Yes, we admit it," said the eyes. "Yes," said the legs. All the body parts exclaimed, "Do something, tongue. Repair this tragic moment. Do something. Say something." And then the man woke up. With a start, he cried out to the guard at his dungeon cell, "Guard, you, listen to me. I misspoke in my nervousness before the king. I do have the milk of a lioness. Please, let me bring it to the king. What harm could it do to let me try? You can always hang me later." "Well, that's sensible," said the guard. "I love my king. I'll give it a try." And so he opened the door and he dragged the physician out and brought him to the bedside of the king. The physician bowed low and said, "Oh, forgive me, your majesty. In my nervousness, I misspoke. I indeed do have the milk of a lioness, not a dog. Try it, your majesty." And the physician poured a bit of the precious liquid into the king's mouth, and as it went down his throat, suddenly his face flushed with health, his body grew strong, he was healed. The hands smoothed the sheets, the feet walked about the bed and tucked in the blankets, the mind thought good thoughts for the king. And the tongue said, "I live to serve." The tongue is straight. The tongue is curled. A single word can change the world.